Hey guys, in today's video, I want to discuss Tatjana Maria's sensational victory at the WTA 500 tournament in London. And let me rattle off some of her wins. Round of 32, she beats Fernandez, who's a former US Open finalist. Round of 16, she takes off Muhova, who was in the final of Roland Garros. In the quarterfinals, she takes out former Wimbledon champion Rybakina. In the semifinals, she takes out Australian Open champion Madison Keys. And in the final, she takes out one of the best ball strikers on planet Earth, Amanda Anisimova. And Tatjana Maria wins this title by basically slicing every forehand and every backhand. And a lot of people are wondering, how is this possible? Now, before I get into that, let me just give credit to Tatjana Maria, who's been on tour forever. I remember her as Tatjana Malek. And back in the day, she used to hit her forehand very aggressively. So the forehand slice is something that she did later on in her career. And also the one-handed backhand wasn't always there. She actually switched from a two-handed backhand to a one-handed backhand in 2013, which is something that's not only super rare, but also extremely difficult to do. I tried that in my project one-hander with a very limited results. So huge respect for Maria to be able to transform her backhand from a two-hander into a one-hander. But what's also interesting is that she now plays a style that's very uncomfortable for a lot of players, and she's having some of the best results of her career in the late stages of her career. And obviously the surface where this type of style, where you slice the forehand and the backhand, is gonna work the best is grass, because the ball is gonna stay extremely low. So it is not a surprise that Maria reached the semifinals of Wimbledon in 2022, and she's going to be a nightmare draw for anyone in the upcoming Wimbledon tournament. Now, what got me so excited about Maria's run is that, interestingly, this week I posted a match play video of myself against a former student of mine, and a lot of people were giving my student a hard time in the comments. They were saying that this guy has no backhand, that they were questioning his 10.7 UTR rating, which you can check out right here. Here's a screenshot of his UTR. So give Mikey some respect. When he used to play more tournaments, his UTR was actually in the mid 11s. But in any case, Mikey, against me and possibly against other opponents as well, will slice a lot of forehands and a lot of backhands. So this is an absolute nightmare for me. And I recommend that you check out that match play video where I struggled physically and mentally to deal with this type of game style. Now, in the comments, people were accusing Mikey of not having a backhand, and that is not true. Mikey has a good forehand and backhand, and he can hit forehand and backhand topspin and keep it in play all day long. But when he plays matches, he utilizes the slice, and it is a smart tactic up to a certain level. And that's what we're going to discuss in today's video. More specifically, what to do when you face someone that slices a lot. The one thing that you shouldn't do when you play against someone that slices a lot is try to blow them off the court, because you're going to blow yourself off the court. You're going to lose very fast. And why is that? Because a slice ball is going to bounce lower, obviously. And now when you hit the ball hard, naturally that ball is going to have more of an upward trajectory. So you have a big risk to spray the ball long. And not only that, if you don't bend your knees, if you don't find the right angles, you can also dump that ball into the net very easily. So the solution is topspin. But even here, you have to be cautious, because again, even with topspin, you're lifting the low ball up. And if you do that too fast, there's a danger that even on a topspin ball, you might spray it long. So the hard lesson when you play somebody who can execute that type of game style to perfection is that you have to be in very good shape physically. Your stamina has to be sky high. And most importantly, you have to be very patient and wait for something higher that you can attack. Now, a lot of people, even in the commentary during this tournament in London and Queens, were saying, why don't players just come to the net? Well, first of all, you not only have to possess the skill set to handle a low ball and then follow it into the net, but you also have to possess the skill set at the net. You're not going to win a lot of matches if you come to the net and you don't know how to volley well, or you're uncomfortable at the net. And that is certainly the case for many WTA players. They're just not comfortable at the net. And you can clearly see that in the players that faced Maria this week, which are absolutely the upper elite of the WTA. Not only did they have a hard time to handle that low slice on grass and were making a tremendous amount of mistakes, but they also had a very hard time transitioning to the net and hitting volley. Very similar to Mikey in that video, people sometimes think this person is slicing because they don't know how to hit topspin. That is not true, because even Maria, at certain occasions, when her opponent came in, she would hit phenomenal topspin forehand and a topspin one-handed backhand. Remember, Maria used to predominantly rip her forehand with topspin in her early days on tour. So it's not that she's slicing because she doesn't know how to hit topspin. She's slicing because that's her best tactic to win tennis matches. So what happens a lot of times is that you are playing this long rally where you're defending slices and you finally come to the net only to be passed with a topspin backhand or a topspin forehand. So coming to the net is definitely a solution against slicers, but it's a lot easier said than done. So back to the game plan that you have to execute if you want to have a chance to not self-destruct against a slicer is, like I said, patience is of the utmost importance, stamina is of the utmost importance, but being opportunistic and knowing when you can go harder is going to be key. So shot selection is going to be super important. So what you have to do, and what I have been trying to do against Mikey, because I play him a lot, and I've had more success in a very recent match that I'm going to post very soon on my channel. I've been a lot more patient, and I've been trying to mentally stay calm, because what happens to a lot of players that face slicers is that they're not accustomed to the slice and they start missing. And in tennis, even if you've been playing really well prior, it doesn't matter. Once you start missing a lot of balls, you're going to lose confidence and you're going to start getting tight, which is only going to lead to more mistakes. So staying calm mentally and not panicking is absolutely key when you play a slicer. You want to avoid the temptation to go hard or try to hit a winner when the ball is extremely low. You're just going to get that ball in play with reduced speed and with more topspin. Now, should you slice back to the slicer? That's also an option, but only if you possess the necessary skill set. So again, going back to the WTA, a lot of players don't possess the necessary skill set to slice an entire match. Their slices are just simply not good enough. But back to the tactics against the slicer. So you're going to be patient, you're going to keep that ball in play, and you're going to wait for something to be a little bit higher where you can indeed go a lot harder. Now, on top of that, and something that I've been really trying to do when I play against Mikey, is that you have to take care of your service game. And in the case of Tatjana Maria, she has been serving exceptionally well this whole week. And I think that's possibly the biggest reason, aside from the slicing, why she ended up winning the title. But what you have to do as a returner when you face a slicer, you have to be very aggressive on the return of serve. So you have to put them under a lot of pressure if they're giving you a second serve, because if you hit a very aggressive ball off a serve, now it's going to be much more difficult for them to keep that slice low, and you can get on the upper hand in the rally and get some higher balls on the return games more frequently. And then if you take care of your own service games and get a high percentage of first serves in, you're going to give yourself a great chance to beat the dreaded slicer. Now, I'm going to finish this video off with the logical follow-up questions, whether this type of style of slicing everything can work on the ATP Tour. And first of all, there have been some players who only slice the backhand. Dan Evans, Steve Johnson, and even to some extent Feliciano Lopez. And back in the 90s, there were far more players who only sliced the backhand, for example, Emilio Sanchez. But the big difference between the WTA ground strokes and the ATP ground strokes is the heaviness of them. So ATP players are skilled enough to not only put more RPMs on the ball, but also maintain a big power level. And the one-handed backhand slice, which is a shot that's low in speed, and even if it's executed to perfection, players will find a way on the ATP Tour to exploit that shot far more than they do on the WTA Tour for a wide variety of reasons. So first of all, their skill set is generally bigger, so there is more feel involved. They have usually better slices themselves. Their transition game is better, their volleys are better, their feel is better, and most importantly, the RPMs are higher. And it's not only the RPMs, it's the fact that the RPMs are combined with power as well. So ATP players that are performing at the elite level will handle a low ball way better than elite WTA players. So it's for that reason that that type of style is unlikely to be successful on the ATP Tour.